Okay, we're heading to video chat now. We got our director of scouting, Craig Smith, with us. Smitty, I appreciate you hanging in. How are you doing, my friend, amid all this?
I'm doing okay. I mean, this is kind of a normal thing for me, like for 2 years, and that's just kind of the way it is. So that's my reality. So I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Oh, we're doing okay. I can tell you for a fact that we really miss having you in here, and you've accepted it. Lynch has not accepted it, but unfortunately on this one, he's not winning. But I promised that we would have you here to answer questions from our viewers because they love what you have to say so much. So, folks, Prairie Mobile text line or the Facebook Live stream, you can write in with your questions for our two-time Grey Cup champion, Director of Scouting, Craig Smith. And I'll start with this. I don't know if you heard the Jim Pop interview or not, Smitty, but he said we can have the draft even if there is no season. For a variety of reasons, it's a positive thing to do. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, going into the combine, which was going to be last week, I think, everybody would have been definitely done with their film work, and they'd have a real good indication of what they would do. And then, but us idiots holding the stopwatch, we like to look at the stopwatch and okay. But the thing is you marry it up, right? You marry it up with regards to what you see, and so it's a combination of things. They're just not going to be able to have that information, which is fine. Tape, just like Jim said, video is a huge thing, and so people have been just going crazy. Like I said yesterday, they'd be red eyes, because of the video that they've been watching. So there's not a problem at all. Guys are probably, like I said, when I was in Saskatchewan, Brendan, he used to send me all across. When I was finished in December, with the Vanier Cup, I would know exactly. I used to have a chart. At the top of the chart was positions, so the columns would be the positions, and then the rows would be first round, second round, third round, etc. And I would, once I saw guys, I would plug them in, and a lot didn't change after that. So guys will be ready. It won't be a problem.
I'm Googling something as we go here. It's about Nick Lewis. Hang on, Jack. I'll get to that question. Arash Madani was here the other day, or on the air. Craig, you might have seen it. And he said that this isn't fair to the GMs to have to draft without all the normal tools. You're saying that they could do it. I'm asking you, have you heard any kind of a groundswell from the teams that they'd like the draft postponed because they haven't had the chance yet? Or was that just a rash saying that?
I haven't heard that. But yesterday I went to the Winnipeg Free Press and I saw Kyle. Kyle said, well, now, hey, what happens? If you throw a curveball, you got to adjust to it. So, they're calling the players, they're calling coaches more than that they had before. And, it's not an ideal situation. There's no doubt. I agree with Arash there, but it certainly can be done. There's no problem with regards to, going into the draft. Hey, it's a different year. Everybody's got to adapt, and that's one of the things. And guys will be able to do it. There's not a problem.
So from Jack Fulton in Calgary says, Craig, where would you place Nick Lewis in the history of the CFL? I've just, for your benefit, went and looked it up. He's fifth all-time, Smitty, if that means anything for you, for receptions at 13,778. Record-wise, he's fifth, so that's where I would put him, because that's why we have records. Where would you put Nick Lewis all-time?
First time I met him was a couple of years ago at the evaluation camp, after in the Regina Inn downstairs. What a great guy. And I told him about the story. You'll remember this, Rod, where we were up, I think, 2 touchdowns, and then Nick Lewis went crazy, scored a couple touchdowns, and then he was the guy who did it in overtime. I couldn't stand the guy, but you know what? He's right up there. And every year, like he started, and every year he put a little bit more weight on. It didn't matter. He was still a guy that would make the clutch catches. He wasn't a guy that was going to stretch, but early in his career, he had more speed, and he's right up there with one of the best.
Oh, there's absolutely no doubt. One thing I'm enjoying about my post-CFL career is starting to get along with the guys that we used to hate each other. Got a ways to go with Bo, Smitty,
Hey, you know what? That's the way it is. When you put the colors on, you're not a real big fan of the other guys. So it's a matter of after everything's said and done, then then you really appreciate it. And that's what I like about your show is you get guys on there and you see the personalities. I wasn't a big Vegas fan because they knocked the heck out of the Jets the other, in the conference championship. Well, now with those, some of the guys that you've had on, it's pretty darn good. You really enjoy hearing the people that are involved in the game, and you guys do a great job.
I appreciate that, Smitty. From Robin in Prince Albert wants to know, how effective are combines with regards to this time of year?
They're very effective. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a big thing with regards to the evaluation process. When you go and you test a guy, you talk with him. There's so many different things go into the fact of drafting. Injury history. What the guys can do. As far as height, weight, speed, test score, all that goes into, and then you watch the tape and you marry it up. So combines are definitely a big part of it. Combines are something that are very, very important. But hey, they don't have it this year. They'll get by.
John Kirby's watching in Edmonton, our number 2 city for viewership, right, guys? John wants to know, what's your scenario for the CFL season, Smitty? Obviously, none of us know, but 8 games, 12 games, what are you thinking about when it comes to 2020 CFL football?
First off, hey, Winnipeg, what the heck's going on? Jump on the bandwagon here. Let's get going. But you know what? It's such a difficult. What's interesting is China, where it hit Wuhan. They're starting to come around again. They're starting to open things up, and that was, say, 3 months ago. If everybody does their job, there's a good chance that we're going to be able to get rolling again. And I don't think it's going to be training camps in May. It's going to be down the road. It's going to be, but that's okay. Even if we got, I saw your yesterday your post with regards to is it 8 games? Is it 12? They could get by as long as we're playing football. As long as we're getting people in the stands and we've got a competition, and hopefully there's going to be 8 games or something like that to get rolling, because you know what, we love this game, we love this sport, and hopefully I can get back in it.
Oh, you will. You're so humble. I know you've turned down jobs already, Craig. So it was the second you're ready to say yes, you're in. You know that. But did you have a question? Oh, sorry, Craig. Did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I never played the game. I worked my ass off. I started from the Pee-wees to the pro in 11 years. So I worked hard to get where I was. But I wasn't a Nick Lewis. I wasn't a G. Roy. I've rubbed elbows with those guys. Got 2 Grey Cup championship rings, but wrote a lot of coattails on that. So, I mean, it's one of those things. But I'm real confident in my abilities to go check out players, and I've had some good ones. So there's no doubt about it. But I'd love to get back, and even if I'm sitting on my butt.
It's also not easy to do. Everybody thinks you're just watching football, and it's not just that. But did you have a question, Darren, or no?
Well, yeah, Craig, it's good to see you. And we were promised the dog, and we got the dog, so that's great. I'm excited about that.
He was happy to get on.
Yeah, exactly. What are the players doing right now? Like, is communication between the scouting staffs and players? Is there put yourselves as a scout right now, and you're about to make draft choices in the NFL or in the what are you wanting to see from players right now? How they're handling isolation. What are they doing?
Which players? You mean players with the teams, or players that are in the draft?
Players that are in the draft or potential free agents, things like that. That you're kind of, because you're still watching them, right? Are they just getting drunk every night playing drinking games? Or are they working out, or what are they doing? What are you looking for?
Well, if they're getting drunk, they're not going to be professionals. But guys they're doing what they're doing. They're working out in their home gym, or they're going to a field where there's nobody, and they're running, and they're doing the things that they need to do in order to be top of the draft. Communication is critical with regards to teams and talking with these players. When I was with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Brendan had a guy that was a guy by the name of Terry Basker, and Rod, you would know him.
The other TB.
They brought yes, exactly. They brought the Grey Cup to you, but Terry was a guy that he would be on the phone for hours talking to the guys, talking to the draft picks, and trying to get a feel for the personality, the character of these kids. That was part of it. And you talk with the coaches, you do all these different things. So, yeah, they're definitely communicating with a lot of these players, and I feel for these kids because like the combine is definitely a place where you get to go. I used to love it. We go to Edmonton, we go to Quebec, then we come back to Toronto, and there would be two there. We'd get a look at so many kids. The thing that's going to hurt is the kids that are not top guys. Because in one of those evaluation camps in Edmonton or Quebec or wherever, those kids would be able to give us an indication. So that's missing out for these kids. So that's going to be tough for that. But hey, you know what? I've been around the whole league. I know most of those guys. I know that they're doing their job. I know they're working their butts off and watching film and doing what they need to do with the cards that they've been dealt. So they'll do a good job. It'll be a little different to get the 7th and 8th round pick because of not being able to see them in that. But hey, you know what? That's just the way it is.
Smitty, we're out of time, so 2 quick questions here. Yeah, well, maybe we'll just go a little longer. Brady wants to know, Brady has written in on both Facebook and Twitter, wants to know who's the one player that you've scouted that went on to have a successful career. It's probably the question you get the most.
I do, but there's so many guys. I was the first to see Corey Sheets, but I never was a guy that could really make the last decisions. It was like, I lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink, so that was something. They bought, when I brought information with regards to Corey, talking with Brian Gain with the Dolphins, they drank my Kool-Aid there, and kudos to Brendan and Jo for doing that. Barron Simpson, I just started, and I looked at his tape and I went, my goodness, this guy's something. He was a guy that he couldn't get his time down from 4.85. And he worked his butt off. And I remember he worked out for the New Orleans Saints just at the Senior Bowl. But he just, he couldn't get that down. But let me tell you, that was one of the first guys that I took that tape to Adam, and they went, okay, let's sign this guy. So, those are the kind of guys, I was on my fat butt in my office, and I saw that Casey Printers was taking off the neg list, and I called Bob and I said, you know what? He's off the neg list right now. And he said, okay, let's get him on, because Bob wasn't a guy that was, a guy with, the computers. So he would call us and we'd have to send that in, and that's the way it was years ago. We'd have to fax that stuff in. So, those are the type of things. There's other guys, obviously guys like Ben Heenan and Paris Jackson. Again, like Wally was the guy to make that decision. Brendan was the guy to make that decision. But all those different things, we were involved in things like that, and so it was a long time. I was in 17 years, but 19 years in the CFL. So there's certainly a lot of players. There's a lot of frustrations too now, and you know that, Rod, your dad, going through the frustrations, but that's the reality of the business.
I heard it my whole life from him. You do all this work scouting somebody, then they don't draft him or sign him, and you don't understand why. But hey, yeah. Oh, we're going so long. But your thoughts on Connor Bedard, number one, and the pressure on this kid? Yeah.
Right here,
Go
baby.
ahead.
Yes, I'm on the bandwagon. I'm jumping on the bandwagon. When they talk about him, it's not fair that they're comparing him to Connor McDavid. But hey, you know what? The reality is this kid's going to be something special, and thank God that the Pats got him, and I can hardly wait till all this blows over, and I'm ready to roll. Like I saw a Pat game a couple of weeks ago against the Winnipeg Ice, and I was starting to come out of my shell. I've got measles, mumps, and rubella to get those shots, and then I'll be ready to roll. So, and I've been getting stronger. Going to walks are a lot better, and I've been lifting a little weight and all that kind of stuff. But hey, I can hardly wait to see this kid. This is going to be very exciting for Regina hockey.
Craig, let it be said, you're a man who wears many hats.
You should see downstairs.
Okay.
My wife will complain a lot about that. But thank you very much, guys, for having me on, and all the best to everybody. Just do what we have to do in order to get rid of this, and everything will be back.
You bet. Thanks for the time, Craig. Stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.